there is something that develops in this which takes it back from extreme to again mean. Hello everyone, I am Jitinder Singh, lecturer physics, Government Senior Secondary School Jagraon, District Ludhiana. Today we are going to study some working behavior of an inductor. So first of all, what is an inductor? So to show this, I have a copper wire which is insulated by a thread, and here is a pipe. What I do is to wound this wire on this pipe to make a coil. So this coil has any number of turns. So now take it out. So this became an inductor. Now with this coil, what I am going to do is to connect it to a battery, and let us see what will happen. So this is my inductor of n turns. Let it have n turns. And here we have applied a battery with a key in the circuit. So it's positive, it's negative, and let it have a potential of V, n number of turns. And when we press this key K, the current starts to grow in the circuit. So actually, when the key was off, the current was 0 in the circuit, and when we press the key, the current grows to its maximum value, that is I. Now as this transition takes place, current changes through the circuit. So imagine that current I flows through this wire, and the coil here is clockwise. So current flows like this. As the current grows, the magnetic field around this wire also grows, and it also grows from 0 to maximum. So as soon as the magnetic field around this wire grows from 0 to maximum, actually it changes, but the change in magnetic field across these loops, the change of magnetic flux. And what we have studied in Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction is, whenever there is a change in magnetic flux through a coil, there is always induced EMF set up in the circuit, and that induced EMF is produced in such a way that it opposes the cause which produces it. So here the cause is the growth of current. So growth of current from 0 to maximum is the cause that produces the magnetic flux, that produces the induced EMF in this coil. So induced EMF will produce in such a way, if current grows in this way, induced EMF will flow this way in reverse direction. So if we have a number of turns n and phi b be the flux linked with one coil, then as we have a number n in this coil, so total flux will be n phi. So this magnetic flux is directly proportional to the current flowing through the circuit. Moving this sign of proportionality, so it gives us n phi b equal to Li. So this L is the self inductance. So it is also called specific inductance. its units are Henry, and it depends upon the nature of the material of the conductor, number one. Number two, the dimensions of the coil, means its area and length. And number three, and the most important one, is the medium in which this coil is placed. So what does this mean? This means the self-inductance of the coil will directly depend upon the magnetic permeability of the medium in which this coil is placed. Now let us do some mathematical work to calculate the energy stored. Which type of energy? It is the magnetic energy which gets stored in this inductor. So as we were talking earlier, that if this current flows in clockwise direction, so it grows in actually clockwise direction, so this side of the inductor will start becoming south pole of the magnet, and this will become north pole of the magnet. So the magnetic flux will directed towards left to right between the coils, coming out of the north pole like this. So as induced EMF is minus d phi b upon dt, so here our total flux is d upon dt of n phi b. So now let us put the value of n phi b. N phi b has a value of L times I, or we have minus L di upon dt. So this is the amount of induced EMF which will set up in this inductor. Now, with the introduction of this back EMF, which opposes the growth of current, the battery has to do an additional work to maintain the current I in the circuit, because back EMF opposes its growth. If this battery has to maintain the current I through the circuit, it has to do some additional work. dW upon dt is magnitude of induced EMF times I. So putting the value of induced EMF as L di upon dt times I. So dt goes off from both sides, and our dW will be Li di. Now this is the small amount of work done in maintaining di current through the circuit, but we have to calculate the total amount of work done for the whole time for which the current the circuit. So we will integrate to calculate W. So it will be Li di, which will give us L I square by 2, or we can write it as W equal to half Li square. So as you see, this formula is very much in resemblance with our kinetic energy formula. Half Li square, half mv square. So kinetic energy, this is also a formula of energy, this is also a formula of energy. This much amount of work done will have to do by the battery to maintain the current in the circuit. So this much amount of work done is stored in this inductor in the form of its magnetic energy. So it can be written as a symbol of energy U. So, or more conveniently, it can be written as UB. Okay, now M stands mass of the body, V is the velocity of the body in mechanical systems. The L plays the same role in electrical circuits as mass plays the role of inertia in our mechanical systems. So L is the electrical inertia. So this is our formula for calculating the total energy stored in the inductor. Let us see, when a charged capacitor is connected to an inductor, so what happens? I have a charged capacitor and an inductor. So can you please hold this for me? So please see carefully what happens when I connect this inductor with this capacitor. You see that? So this spark is so important that it has made some very interesting phenomena to occur. So what it happened was, so we just connected an charged capacitor to an inductor. So this is a parallel combination. So what happened was, the charged capacitor sends current I to this inductor. And you know what the spark was? The spark was a very important phenomena that we have discussed just earlier. It was the back EMF, which this inductor produced by the changing magnetic field. So this back EMF was the reason for that spark. So now we will study how this happens with the help of some oscillations. So now we will study why this are called LC oscillations. So whenever charged capacitor and an inductor are connected in parallel, there are a number of oscillations that takes place within the circuit. Here I have two systems. One is a simple pendulum and other is a loaded spring. Let us see how oscillations work in these two apparatus. First of all, we have to give some sort of work, some sort of force to disturb these two systems from their mean positions. So currently they are at their mean positions and they are at rest. Let us see this loaded spring. I will do a amount of work to pull it down, and that amount of work which I have done on it is stored in this weights in the form of its potential energy, because I have displaced it from its position. So now see what happens. So it started oscillating about its mean position. What happens is, it goes to its mean position. Up to mean position, its kinetic energy increases. Then due to inertia, it overshoots from its mean position to the another extreme. But when it goes from the mean position to extreme position, something develops in it which grows till it reaches the second extreme position, and that is the backward force. So also in this pendulum, if I do a work on it, it goes to its first extreme position. So that amount of work is stored in its energy. Now I leave it to oscillate freely. So it is clear that up to the mean position, its kinetic energy increases, and then up to the another extreme, its kinetic energy decreases and potential energy grows to maximum. But after it crosses the mean position up to another extreme, there is something that develops in this which takes it back from extreme to again mean. and that thing is the backward force which we are going to study in LC oscillations. The same things happen in electrical circuits when capacitor and inductor are connected in parallel. So let us see how LC oscillations work. Now applying Kirchhoff's loop rule to this circuit, we have this capacitor and the potential of this capacitor is V equals Q by C. Q by C is the potential across this capacitor and the EMF of this inductor is minus L di upon dt. As there is no other component in this circuit, so it must be equal to 0. So rearranging these factors, dividing by L both sides, so we get Q upon LC minus di upon dt equals to 0. As we know, I is minus dq upon dt, rate of change of charge. Why this negative sign? Because with the passage of time, as the charge decreases on this capacitor, the current goes to its maximum value. Means charge and current both goes in reciprocative manner with each other. As charge decreases, current increases. So that's why there is a negative sign. So putting this value over here, we get Q upon LC plus d upon dt of dq upon dt equals 0. Or we may write it as, we are writing this first, d square upon dt square of q plus 1 upon LC of q equal to 0. This equation resembles the equation of simple harmonic motion, which was d square upon dt square of x plus omega naught square x equal to 0. Omega naught square is the frequency of the simple harmonic motion. So comparing these two equations, we got omega naught equal to 1 upon LC square root. Now this factor is of great importance. As you know, we tune a radio. I have a radio with me, and what we usually do is to select a band which you want to operate. So I have selected medium band. So what we do is, here is a tuner and I rotate it. So here it selected the frequency and we can hear songs. So actually what is this? This is a tuning knob. So what tuning knob does is, rotating the knob is we change the value of C, but L is fixed. By changing the value of C, we got optimal frequency. When we got optimum frequency desired by us and which matches the frequency of the broadcaster, so we catch the frequency. So in this way, this circuit is of great importance. So not in radios, our televisions, our transmitters of mobile phones all have the same circuit. So in this way, this parallel LC circuit is such an importance. So now we will see how this circuit works. So first of all, consider that the capacitor is fully charged and is connected with inductor of inductance L. So we keep it open for a time. So if this is open, then the capacitor is fully charged, so it has a energy of half Q square upon C, but there is no magnetic energy, so UB is 0. So this is the case when in a mechanical system we have pulled the pendulum to its first extreme. So let us suppose that we close this key This is our inductor, the capacitor, and we close the key K. So what is going to happen is the current I starts to grow. Charge travels from capacitor to inductor, and magnetic flux changes through the inductor. So as the magnetic flux starts changing, there is an magnetic field starts growing in this circuit. Suppose that the current flows clockwise from the upper side. So the upper side of this solenoidal magnet becomes south pole, and the lower one becomes north pole. Now the charge has reduced a little bit from this capacitor while closing the key K, because it traveled through the wire and the magnetic energy starts to grow. So now we have electrical energy also not equal to 0, magnetic energy not also equal to 0. So magnetic energy continuously grows. So as the magnetic energy grows, induced EMF starts to grow also. So this will correspond to our second position of the pendulum, which was like here, but it didn't reach its mean position yet. So considering the third diagram, so in third stage, capacitor is fully discharged and the current grows to its maximum value, making the solenoid a strong magnet. So the magnetic field also grows a lot. So but in the same direction as the previous case, so this end becomes south and this becomes north. So this is the third case when our mechanical system reached its mean position. So one type of energy which was present here is converted 100% into the another form of energy. So here it has potential energy maximum but kinetic energy equal to 0. Here kinetic energy equal to half mv square, or you can say as maximum, but potential energy is 0. So like in the case of this electrical circuit, our electrical energy which was present in capacitor is now 0, and the magnetic energy which is now present in this inductor is L half Li square. So this is the analogy between our mechanical oscillator and this electrical oscillator. Now at next stage, what is going to happen is very interesting. As the whole of the charge is moved to inductor already, the current grows to its maximum value. It stopped increasing further. So back EMF starts to grow. So back EMF, according to Lenz's law, grows so much that it wants this south pole to be more strong. So it induces the current in another direction. So what is going to happen here is that we got magnetic field lines reversed its direction. The current flows in opposite direction, making the lower plate little positive and the upper plates little negative. So this corresponds to our mechanical system has crossed its mean position. So it's going toward this side. So going toward this side. So here it is going toward this side, going to this side. So what will happen next? Whole of this magnetic energy will be converted into electrical energy again. So what we will get is a fully charged capacitor again, but with opposite polarity. And our electric field is from downwards to upward. So, but in first place, our electric field was downwards. So this is the case. Here again, electrical energy is Q square upon 2C and magnetic energy is 0 again. So our mechanical system has reached second extreme. Here its potential energy is again high, maximum, and kinetic energy is again 0. So this is why these oscillations are called LC oscillations. In this animation, you will observe the discharging and charging of the capacitor and the current reversing its direction with induced EMF. So it has number of applications of our day-to-day life, transmitting signals, receiving signals, and as I have shown you in the case of radio, television, all things which have a modem includes LC parallel circuit. So what will be the nature of the oscillations it will give us? The nature of the oscillations will be, so as there are a number of resistive factors, resistance of wires and other things, so this type of wave we will have with the passage of time. So this is the wave of current. So these oscillations will die out after some time. So therefore these are called damped oscillations. And if you want to have continuous amplitude oscillations, we have to feed back at every pulse to get continuous amplitude of oscillations. So that type of oscillator is called feedback oscillators. So this is the importance of LC circuit when connected in parallel. I hope, my dear students, that you will understand this concept, and thank you very much for attending this lecture.